Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Official 24 channel. Adam Newman's life is in mortal danger as Jack Abbott launches a ruthless counterattack that spirals far beyond corporate warfare, forcing Victor Newman into a rare, desperate plea that exposes just how far a father will go to save his son, and the shockwaves threaten to tear Genoa City apart in a way no one saw coming, because it all begins on a deceptively quiet morning when Adam senses something is wrong. The air feels heavier, the silence too loud, and every instinct he's honed through years of betrayal and survival screams that he's being hunted, while across town Jack, fueled by equal parts fury, guilt, and a cold, calculated sense of justice, finalizes a plan he never imagined he'd consider, a plan born from Adam's latest maneuver that crossed a line Jack considers unforgivable, dragging innocent lives into a power struggle that was supposed to stay confined to boardrooms and balance sheets. Adam, still reeling from recent revelations about loyalty and blood, believes he can outthink Jack the way he always has, underestimating the depth of Jack's resolve this time, because Jack isn't just fighting as a rival CEO or a wounded friend, he's fighting as a man who believes Adam is a dangerous force that must be stopped at any cost, even if it means walking a path that could destroy what remains of his own moral compass. And as Adam heads to Newman Media, unaware that his every move is being tracked, the trap begins to close with chilling precision, using shell companies, shadow operatives, and a staged crisis designed to lure Adam into a place where escape will be nearly impossible. Meanwhile, Victor senses the shift before anyone else, the way a predator recognizes another predator's intent, and when he learns fragments of Jack's plan through whispered warnings and panicked intermediaries, the realization hits him like a physical blow. This isn't about leverage or humiliation anymore. This is about ending Adam, permanently, and Victor's ironclad confidence fractures into something dangerously close to fear as he remembers every time he failed to protect his son, every moment he pushed Adam into darkness instead of pulling him back, and for the first time in a long time Victor is forced to confront the possibility that his legacy of ruthless control may be the very thing that finally costs him everything, as Adam receives a cryptic message urging him to meet under the guise of a last-minute deal that could secure Newman Media's future. His skepticism wars with his ambition, and against his better judgment he goes, walking straight into Jack's counterattack, where a staged accident turns violent, chaos erupts, and Adam barely escapes with his life, bloodied and shaken, realizing too late that Jack intended more than a warning, intended to break him in a way no rival ever has. Word spreads quickly through Genoa City, and shock ripples through the Newman family as Victoria struggles with conflicting emotions, anger at Adam for provoking such danger and terror at the thought of losing him, while Nikki, haunted by memories of past tragedies, confronts Victor, demanding to know how far this war has gone and whether their son will survive it, and Victor, usually impervious, can barely meet her eyes because he knows the truth is worse than she imagines. Jack, watching the aftermath unfold, feels the weight of what he set in motion, but instead of relief he feels a hollow ache as Diane questions him, forcing him to articulate when exactly his need for justice turned into something darker, something that could have killed a man, and Jack insists Adam left him no choice, that some threats can't be neutralized through legal maneuvers alone. Even as doubt gnaws at him, Adam, hiding out and piecing together what happened, finally understands the magnitude of Jack's resolve, and for the first time since he was a child desperate for his father's approval, Adam feels truly alone, betrayed not just by an enemy but by the idea that he could ever outrun the consequences of his own choices, and as he contemplates striking back with equal force, Victor arrives, casting aside protocol and pride, tracking Adam down to a remote location where raw emotion finally breaks through the layers of manipulation between them. In a scene that leaves even Adam stunned, Victor doesn't bark orders or issue threats. He begs, pleading with his son to disappear, to let Victor handle Jack, to choose survival over vengeance, his voice cracking as he admits that he can't lose Adam, not like this, not after everything, and the desperation in Victor's eyes reveals a father stripped bare, acknowledging that his own relentless war with Jack has escalated into something uncontrollable. Adam, torn between the lifelong hunger for Victor's respect and his own instinct to fight back, is shaken by this rare vulnerability, and the plea forces him to confront a truth he's long denied, that no matter how powerful he becomes, he is still a pawn in battles that began long before he had any say, and as he hesitates, Jack makes his next move, doubling down with legal and personal attacks that threaten to expose secrets capable of destroying Adam's remaining allies, pushing the situation to a breaking point where one wrong step could mean Adam's death. Genoa City becomes a pressure cooker of alliances shifting by the hour, as Kyle finds himself caught between loyalty to his father and his own moral limits, warning Jack that this path will cost him everything, while Summer and Chelsea each grapple with their fear for Adam, questioning whether loving him means accepting the danger that follows wherever he goes. Victor, racing against time, reaches out to unlikely allies, swallowing decades of grudges as he seeks any leverage to pull Jack back from the brink, and when that fails, he prepares for a final confrontation, one that could either end the feud or ignite an all-out war that leaves no survivors. The tension culminates in a face-to-face showdown where Jack and Victor lay bare years of resentment, betrayal, and unresolved guilt, with Adam's life hanging in the balance as the unspoken price of their rivalry. And in a moment that will be talked about for years, Victor admits his mistakes as a father, acknowledging that his treatment of Adam helped create the very monster Jack now fears, while Jack, confronted with the human cost of his vengeance, falters, realizing that killing Adam, even indirectly, won't bring him peace or restore what was lost. As the dust settles, Adam emerges changed, forced to reckon with the reality that survival sometimes means walking away, and though the immediate threat subsides, the scars remain, the relationships forever altered, because Jack's counterattack and Victor's desperate plea have exposed the rawest truths at the heart of the young and the restless, that love and hate are often indistinguishable, that power always comes with a price, and that in Genoa City, no victory is ever truly clean, especially when a man's life is the ultimate bargaining chip. The aftermath refuses to stay quiet, because in Genoa City silence is never peace, it is only the breath before the next explosion, and as Adam tries to reclaim some sense of control over his shattered world, the danger only mutates, becoming subtler, more insidious, as Jack's retreat proves to be temporary rather than final, a strategic pause that makes Victor even more uneasy, because he knows Jack Abbott well enough to recognize that when Jack steps back, he is recalibrating, sharpening his blade, and Adam feels it too, that familiar prickle along his spine that tells him he is still very much in the crosshairs, even as he pretends to resume normal life, returning to Newman Media under heavy security, projecting confidence he does not feel, while privately questioning every phone call, every meeting, every shadow that lingers a second too long. Victor, meanwhile, becomes a man possessed, micromanaging Adam's protection with a ferocity that borders on paranoia, deploying trusted operatives, leaning on old favors, even resurrecting tactics he swore he would never use again, all because the image of Adam bleeding on the ground refuses to leave his mind, haunting him at night alongside memories of the countless times he chose strategy over fatherhood, power over compassion, and Nikki sees the toll it's taking, confronting Victor once more, warning him that saving Adam physically will mean nothing if the war destroys what little humanity they have left, but Victor cannot hear it, not yet, because the stakes feel too high, the clock too close to midnight. Jack, under mounting pressure from Kyle and Diane, tries to convince himself he did the right thing, that pushing Adam to the edge was necessary, but doubt gnaws at him relentlessly, especially when he sees the fear ripple outward, affecting people who never signed up for this battle, and the realization that his actions have destabilized the entire city begins to weigh on him, though his pride, battered by years of conflict with Victor, refuses to let him admit it openly. Adam's isolation deepens as allies begin to drift away, some out of fear, others out of exhaustion, leaving him to confront the unsettling truth that power built on intimidation is fragile, and Chelsea, sensing the shift, reaches out, offering cautious support tempered by painful honesty, telling Adam that surviving this won't matter if he continues to live like every day is a war, and her words strike a nerve because they echo something he's been afraid to acknowledge, that he no longer knows how to exist without conflict. As pressure mounts, a new development threatens to tip everything over the edge when evidence surfaces suggesting Jack's counterattack involved a third party with a reputation for going too far, someone whose methods are far more lethal than Jack ever intended, and Victor seizes on this revelation as both a threat and an opportunity. Realizing that Jack may have unleashed a force he can no longer control, and Adam, upon learning this, feels a surge of anger mixed with vindication, because it confirms his worst fears, that this was never just business, never just revenge, but a reckless gamble with his life as collateral. The city buzzes with speculation as rumors swirl, alliances fracture, and long-buried secrets begin to surface, each one adding fuel to a fire already burning out of control, and Victor makes a decisive move. Confronting Jack privately with the evidence, laying it out in brutal terms, telling him that if Adam dies, the blood will be on Jack's hands forever, a stain no amount of moral justification can wash away. Jack, shaken, lashes back, accusing Victor of hypocrisy, of feigning concern now after a lifetime of emotionally destroying his own son, and the argument spirals into a raw reckoning. Years of resentment exploding as both men are forced to confront the damage they've caused, not just to each other, but to their families and to Adam in particular, who has become the embodiment of their worst impulses. Adam, sensing the shifting tide, begins to contemplate an exit strategy, not out of fear alone but out of a growing awareness that staying in Genoa City may mean eventual annihilation, and the thought terrifies him because it feels like surrender, like admitting that no matter how hard he fights, he can never truly win here. Yet the idea of freedom, real freedom, away from the endless cycle of retaliation, starts to take root, fragile but persistent. Victor, overhearing whispers of Adam's potential departure, panics, interpreting it as rejection, as abandonment, and in a moment of raw honesty he admits to Nikki that he doesn't know who he is without Adam to fight for, protect, or control, a confession that exposes how deeply entangled his identity is with the very chaos he claims to despise. Jack, facing mounting backlash from within Jabot, begins to lose ground, his authority questioned as board members express concern over the personal vendetta threatening the company's stability, and Kyle, finally drawing a line, tells his father that if this continues, he will walk away, forcing Jack to confront the possibility that his crusade could cost him his son as well. The tension reaches another breaking point when Adam is targeted again, this time narrowly avoiding a fatal incident thanks to Victor's relentless precautions, but the message is unmistakable. Someone wants him gone, and the clock is ticking, and as news of the attempt spreads, panic grips the Newman family, pushing Victor into a frenzy and leaving Adam shaken to his core, realizing that no amount of preparation can guarantee his safety. In the wake of the near miss, Victor confronts Jack publicly, their feud exploding into the open, and in front of stunned onlookers Victor issues a chilling ultimatum, warning Jack that if Adam is harmed again, all bets are off, and the consequences will be devastating, a declaration that sends shockwaves through Genoa City and forces everyone to pick a side. Jack, cornered, finally acknowledges that things have gone too far, that the line between justice and vengeance has blurred beyond recognition, and as he quietly pulls back, attempting to dismantle what he set in motion, he realizes too late how difficult it is to put the genie back in the bottle, because the third party Victor warned him about has their own agenda, one that doesn't include mercy. Adam, faced with the undeniable reality that his presence puts everyone he cares about at risk, makes a decision that surprises even himself, choosing to leave Genoa City temporarily, not as a defeated man but as someone reclaiming agency over his own fate. And when he tells Victor, the reaction is explosive, grief and anger colliding as Victor accuses Adam of running, of abandoning the fight, only to break down moments later, admitting that maybe this is what survival looks like. Their farewell is tense, unresolved, heavy with everything left unsaid, but beneath the pain is a fragile thread of understanding, because for the first time Victor doesn't try to stop Adam, recognizing that love sometimes means letting go, even when it feels unbearable. Jack, watching events unfold from a distance, is left to grapple with the consequences of his actions, haunted by the knowledge that his counterattack didn't just threaten Adam's life, it reshaped destinies, altered relationships, and exposed the darkest corners of his own soul. And as Genoa City slowly exhales, the scars remain, a reminder that wars fueled by pride rarely end cleanly. Adam's departure leaves a void, one filled with uncertainty and unresolved tension, because his absence doesn't end the rivalry, it merely changes its shape, and as Victor stands alone in his office, staring out at the city he has ruled for decades, he finally understands the true cost of power, realizing that no victory is worth the life of a son, and that Jack's counterattack and his own desperate plea have irrevocably altered the course of their lives, setting the stage for a future where redemption and destruction exist side by side. waiting for the next move in a game that is far from over. Even with Adam gone, Genoa City refuses to settle, because absence can be just as volatile as presence, and the vacuum Adam leaves behind begins to distort every relationship he once touched, amplifying old resentments and unresolved fears, as Victor finds himself pacing through Newman Enterprises like a caged animal, barking orders that make no sense, lashing out at subordinates who dare to suggest stability has returned, because stability feels like a lie when his son is out there somewhere. Alone, vulnerable, and beyond Victor's reach, and Nikki watches helplessly as Victor oscillates between grim determination and quiet despair, knowing that for the first time in his life, he cannot fix this with money, intimidation, or brute force. Jack, meanwhile, faces the reckoning he delayed for far too long, as the consequences of his counterattack begin to crystallize into something unavoidable. With Jabot shareholders demanding answers, Kyle openly questioning his leadership, and whispers circulating that Jack Abbott, once the moral counterweight to Victor Newman, has crossed a line he may never fully step back from, and Jack feels the weight of it in every sleepless night, replaying the moments where he chose escalation over restraint, convincing himself Adam deserved it, only to realize too late that punishment and annihilation are not the same thing. Diane becomes both anchor and mirror, forcing Jack to confront the uncomfortable truth that his obsession with Victor, and by extension Adam, was never just about justice, but about proving he was better, cleaner, more principled, and now that illusion has cracked, leaving him exposed and uncertain in a way he hasn't felt in decades. Across town, Victoria struggles with a strange mix of relief and guilt, relieved that Adam is no longer a daily flashpoint threatening to explode her carefully controlled world, yet haunted by the knowledge that his exile is a direct result of a family war she has both fueled and benefited from, and in quiet moments she wonders whether she, too, bears responsibility for pushing Adam to the margins, choosing corporate victory over sibling loyalty time and time again. Chelsea, carrying her own scars, feels Adam's absence most acutely, sensing that this separation is different from the ones before, heavier, more final, and she wrestles with the fear that running may save his life but cost him his soul, because Adam has never been good at standing still, and isolation has a way of sharpening his darkest instincts. As days turn into weeks, rumors begin to surface that Adam has resurfaced under a new identity, rebuilding quietly, deliberately, and Victor's operatives scramble to confirm it, only to be thwarted at every turn. Because Adam has finally learned how to disappear, and that realization cuts Victor deeper than any threat ever could, forcing him to confront the bitter irony that the son he tried so hard to control has become the one thing Victor cannot command. Jack, sensing the shift in power, attempts to redirect his focus back to business, to legacy, to repairing what remains of his moral authority, but the shadow of Adam's near-death lingers, resurfacing in unexpected ways, particularly when Kyle accuses him outright of turning into the very man he despised, a comparison that stuns Jack into silence, because in that moment he cannot deny it entirely. The fragile calm shatters when evidence emerges that the third party involved in the earlier attacks is still active, operating independently, no longer tethered to Jack or Victor, and suddenly the danger Adam fled may not be as far behind him as everyone hoped, reigniting Victor's terror and forcing Jack to acknowledge that some fires, once lit, refuse to be extinguished. Victor responds instinctively, mobilizing resources across borders, determined to neutralize the threat before it reaches Adam, even if Adam never knows, because Victor has finally accepted that protection does not require possession, a realization that comes too late to heal old wounds but just in time to prevent new ones. Jack, unexpectedly, offers help, not as a rival but as a man seeking atonement, and the uneasy alliance shocks Genoa City, because the idea of Victor Newman and Jack Abbott working together has always seemed impossible, yet now necessity overrides pride, and both men understand that saving Adam may be the only way to salvage what little honor they have left. Their collaboration is tense, brittle, laced with unspoken blame, but effective, and as pieces fall into place, each man is forced to confront his reflection in the other, recognizing how years of competition transformed them into mirror images, each convinced he was right, each blind to the collateral damage left behind. Adam, unaware of the full extent of the danger stalking him, begins to feel the weight of anonymity pressing in, realizing that freedom without connection can become its own kind of prison, and though he tells himself this solitude is temporary, that it's necessary for survival. The loneliness gnaws at him, resurrecting old insecurities he thought he'd buried long ago. When a near encounter confirms his worst fears, that someone is still hunting him, Adam is forced to confront the reality that running will never truly end this, and for the first time he considers the possibility that his survival may require reconciliation, not just escape, a thought that terrifies him more than any threat ever has. Back in Genoa City, Nicky senses the shift before Victor says a word, recognizing the look in his eyes when he realizes